And I think the spreading kindness bit is the most important part that we do. We give people tangible help every week, but I think the most inspirational part of what we do is encouraging people to be kind and helping people see that there's a lot of good people in the world.
This is the We Make Success Happen podcast.
This is the We Make Success Happen podcast with Matt Callanan.
This next one is an amazing video I was sent about a guy called Matt Callanan.
An amazing and inspiring soul who goes by the name of Matt Callanan.
Hello and welcome to We Make Success Happen. Today with amazing human, Jaime Thurston. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Nice to finally meet you.
You too.
So tell us about 52 Lives then.
So 52 Lives is a charity that I started a few years ago. We aim to change somebody's life every week of the year and spread kindness. And I think the spreading kindness bit is the most important part that we do. We give people tangible help every week, but I think the most inspirational part of what we do is encouraging people to be kind and helping people see that there's a lot of good people in the world.
So how essentially does it work? Because you choose a different person to help each week.
Yep, every week we choose someone somewhere in the world, mostly in the UK, who's going through a difficult time for any reason, and we share their story on our website, on our social media pages, and then all of our supporters, we've got almost 100,000 supporters now, who offer help to that person, and it can be anything. We help with such a huge range of things. We've built sensory gardens, we paid for operations, paid for medical equipment. We bought teeth for a man once in Alabama.
What happened to his teeth?
He'd had to have them removed because he was having heart surgery, and apparently it could increase the risk of infection. He was living in America, and there's no medical insurance over there, I guess. Yeah. He didn't have any insurance, so he was going to have no teeth. He was 25 and he just couldn't afford teeth. Wow. So we paid for some teeth for him.
That's a nice thing to have under your belt, isn't it?
It was, yeah. One of our more random requests.
Did they fit?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did. We didn't just post them to him. He went and got them fitted properly.
Weren't some just random teeth that you'd found, and just like, that'll do. So, how did it all start then? Where did you get this idea?
It started, I was living in Australia at the time. It was in 2013, and I was shopping online for some secondhand furniture, and I came across a wanted ad, and it was a lady who said, it just said wanted rugs. And I read the ad, and she just sounded really desperate. She said that her floor was all broken, that her children were cutting their feet, and she just needed a rug, and she didn't have any money. I didn't have a rug, but I messaged her and said that I had a car, so if anybody donated one, I could perhaps pick it up for her. And we just got chatting, and I learnt more about her situation, and it was just awful. She'd escaped a horrible domestic situation. They'd been homeless for a little while. They'd been living in a garden shed for a little while, her and her children, which, to be honest, I just didn't think. I think you always think somebody would step in before it got to a point where children were living in a garden shed, but that was what happened to them. And they had just been given accommodation, but they just didn't have anything. And she didn't have anyone. She just didn't have anyone. She was on her own. She had no support. And I just really thought, if people knew about her, if my friends and family, if anybody around the world knew about her, they'd want to help her. She was in such an awful situation, and the things that she needed were actually quite minor. And so that's what I did. I collected bits and pieces from the mums at school, from my family who lived there, and I delivered them all to her one day. And the effect it had on her when I arrived at her door and it wasn't great stuff, it was just little bits of bedding and little random things that my family had spare. And she was in tears. She was so overwhelmed. And I realised really quickly that it wasn't the stuff that I was giving her that really made a difference to her. It was just the fact that there were people who cared about her, and strangers, like people that she didn't know, who were willing to give things to her. And I thought about that a lot over the next few days, and I just loved how it made me feel as well, which I've later learnt now. It's the science of kindness. It does make us feel good. And I just thought we could do this every week. I could do this every week. So I set up just a little Facebook page, and I invited my friends and family to like it. And I really thought it would just be my friends and family. I thought it would just be something we could do every week, do something small to help some people. And over the next few months, it started growing, and people who I didn't know started to like the page. And some of the stories of the people we helped went viral on social media, and yeah, now here we are.
Yeah, because how many, at this kind of current recording time, how many are we in? What week are we in now?
How many lives do you mean? 169.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a lot. And we help more at Christmas. Well, around Christmas time, we normally help 1,000 people in the lead up to Christmas in that month.
Amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's when I look back over the few years that we've been doing it, it's funny. I always think actually that I'm going to forget some of them because some of the people we've helped, because there's been so many now. But it still doesn't feel like that long ago that I've interacted with all of the people that we've helped, and I'm still in touch with quite a lot of the people that we've helped as well. Time to time, we have little messages to see how people are and things. But actually, particularly the first person we helped was a little girl called Claire Ollier, and she was 9 and she had a brain tumour, and she was nominated by a family friend because they said she was having lots of awful treatment, and they just wanted some little things for her to look forward to in between her treatments. And we didn't give them very much at all. We got her tickets to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang because she really liked the theatre. A local shop donated a dress for her to wear. It was just little things like that. And the effect that had on her family, I just couldn't believe. I kept on thinking, they're such small things, but it was just the fact that people cared about them and wanted to do something for their little girl. So I'm still in touch with that family quite a lot as well.
So, yeah, what made you help that first woman and that family that were asking for rugs?
Oh, I don't know. I've never been asked that, you know. I don't know. I don't even know why I clicked on the ad. I didn't have a rug. She just her message. I mean, the ad that she posted, it just sounded quite desperate. I think that was what drew me to it. I wanted to know a little bit more about her, I guess. And I don't even know why I offered to take the rug to her. I guess I do think that kindness is innate. I think that people generally are good. We want to help each other. Sometimes it's just that the opportunity is not obvious and directly in front of us. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I was a stay-at-home mum. I had 2 kids. I had time on my hands, and I guess I had the time to chat with her a bit and find out more. 'Cause I think sometimes that's where unkindness can come from. I think sometimes we just don't have the time to invest in people.
So what, did you just jump on the phone to her then, or did you email her?
No, we started emailing. I think she thought that maybe I was a scammer or something to start with.
You were after her rugs.
I get that a bit. Well, I used to, not so much now, because we're a registered charity now and we've got a proper website and everything. But in the early days when I used to contact people, I think they used to be suspicious because I was being nice. But when I contacted her, I just said, I don't have a rug, but I knew where she lived in the ad. I knew that was quite a remote area in Australia, and so that's why I thought maybe if she doesn't have very much money, she probably doesn't have a car either. So I thought I could pick one up for her, and she wrote back and kind of said, "Really? Like, are you for real? Why would you want to do that?" And I just said, "I've also got some other bits and pieces. Is there anything else you need?" I said, "I don't have a rug, but I've got other things." And when I asked if there's anything else she needed, that's when she said, "Well, we had to leave everything behind." And I just really felt for her. I think, especially with so much in life, I think it can be any of us. At the time, I was very lucky. I was in a fortunate position where I had everything that I needed. But I think quite easily it can go the other way.
So when did you realise that 52 Lives was becoming a thing? Because were you a journalist at the time, did you say, or
no, I was
still a mum?
I was just stay-at-home mum.
Yeah. So at what point did you think, okay, this is going to take a bit more effort and this is turning into a proper project? Because do you know it's going to turn into a charity initially?
No, not at all. I thought it was something, especially in the early days, it was just something I did, for a couple of hours a week. I used to, I don't know, just respond to messages and find people to help and things. But probably about 3 months in, we helped a little boy and his mum. They were from Australia as well. He was called Kaibi, and his mum Kerry. They both had cancer, and she was a single mum, and she was struggling to get him to his hospital appointments because their car was broken down. And we just put out a request for a mechanic to fix their car. And I was a bit worried because it was getting near the end of the week, and we hadn't found a mechanic. And I felt that was my other worry. I had their hopes up, and I thought, what if we can't help? I'm going to have to pay for a mechanic now to go fix their car. And then I had an email from a lady in Scotland who said she wanted to buy them a car.
Wow.
And when I thought, does she mean pay for the mechanic? I thought, have I read the email wrong? Does she mean pay for the mechanic? So I got in touch with her, but she did. She wanted to buy them a car.
Amazing.
And I wasn't sure it was going to actually happen.
Yeah.
But it did. She bought them a car, and that story went viral on social media. It got picked up on a lot of the good news network websites and things. And then we started getting kind of a bigger influx of supporters then. So that's when it started really picking up, I think. But it was the following July. It was July 2015. That's when everything completely changed. I was on, I was invited to ITV Studios under the guise of meeting researchers or something about a show about volunteers. I thought it was some story they'd made up, and I didn't even want to go, to be honest.
Why? Because you didn't want to be on TV, or?
Oh no, it wasn't supposed to be on TV. It was just supposed to be a meeting with.
Right. Okay.
They were doing research for a show or something, but it's because I've got young children, and I was going to have to come into London, and I thought it was at 6 o'clock in the evening, and I thought that's such a bad time for me. I've got to do dinner and bedtime, and I can't. But anyway, I got there, and it was surprise, surprise with Holly Willoughby.
Amazing.
And they'd flown people over from Australia that we'd helped. That first family that I'd helped, the Olliers, they were in the studio.
Incredible.
They had so many people there that we'd helped, and so that was recorded in June, and it was in July that it was supposed to be aired.
Did you have any idea that that was actually happening then? Or had you been completely set up?
No, I was completely set up.
At what point did they tell you then?
Well, Holly Willoughby just walked up the stairs and...
Oh, really? It was like that moment and it's been recorded?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when I knew. Well, see, they'd said to me, I was waiting in the foyer of ITV, and they said, your meeting's been delayed. And I was like, oh, God, I need to get home. And they said, there is a show being filmed if you want to go in and sit in the audience and watch. And so I was like, okay. So we went and sat in the audience, and I'd never seen it before. I didn't really know what it was. And when it was actually aired, my segment was at the end, but that wasn't how it was filmed. When I walked in and sat down, she came up.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a chance to know what was going on. So it was definitely a surprise.
What were you thinking right at that point then?
I was confused, and then I didn't really have time to think anything, to be honest. She just kind of grabbed my hand and we walked down, and they edited it quite well, I think, because I didn't make any sense to start with. I sat on the sofa, and she asked me to say what 52 Lives was, and I think I talked for 10 minutes and didn't even really explain what it was. I was just crying, and I was just really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I was really overwhelmed. And then I was nervous because they'd said they had people there, and I thought, what if I don't know who they are, or what if I don't know? But I did. I knew everybody.
So who was there in the audience? Who had they got along?
They had the family of a little girl called Evie. We helped. She'd been having chemotherapy, and we made over her bedroom while she was in hospital. And they had the Olliers, obviously, and they also had a girl called Melissa who we helped. She was going through a really difficult time, and she was a single mum, and she was trying to basically go back to college, and she needed a laptop, so we bought her a laptop. That was like in about week 3 or 4, I think, at 52 Lives. It was quite early on. It was just incredible, and it was, well, when it was aired in July, and I thought, the night that it was going to be aired, I sat there. My parents were over anyway from Australia, so we're all sitting there watching the telly. And I said, God, we might, because we had 4,000 followers, I think, on Facebook at the time. And I was like, we might get to like 5 or 6, or, it might be Yeah, I just didn't know
Yeah.
how big that show was, or just the effect it would have on people. So after the show, I went to bed and I woke up in the morning, and I hadn't turned off notifications on my phone. So because it didn't happen that often, every time somebody liked something or commented on something or followed the page or anything, I used to get pinged. And if somebody followed me on Twitter, it used to tell me, because it was quite rare. And I woke up in the morning and I think I had 150,000 notifications on my phone. And
What?
I just didn't know where to start. I just didn't know where to start. I felt so overwhelmed.
Wow.
I went to write a thank you post to everybody to kind of go, wow,
To
thank
each
you.
individual.
I did start replying to people's comments, and I must have gone for about 2 hours, and then I thought I can't. I wanted to, because that was one of the things I liked about 52 Lives. It was very personal, and I didn't like not replying to people. But after, I realised that I can't always respond to everyone individually now.
Yeah, because where do you start? If you've got 150,000 notifications, where do you even start? What platform do you even choose? Like, how do you get that kind of thank you out there?
It was nuts. Well, I started to write a thank you post on Facebook, kind of a generic post, just saying, wow, thank you so much for everyone being so supportive. And I posted it, and then I realised that there was a mistake in it, so I went to press edit, and by the time I refreshed it, it had 1,000 likes on it. Which is, I used to get like 2 likes on anything that I wrote, and it was probably my mum and my sister. It was just incredible, and not just, we obviously got an influx of nominations, people saying that they needed help, but also just the offers we had of support. So many people, small businesses offering things, people who make curtains, plumbers. Like, we had so many just lovely people saying, if you ever need a plumber in Cardiff, I'm here. If you ever needed this in wherever I'm at, it was wonderful.
That's brilliant. I bet you're glad you went to the studio now.
I know.
Not stayed home and cooked dinner or something.
Their plan. But I didn't. It was quite overwhelming, and I didn't really. For the first few weeks, I didn't know what to do after that, because I felt like I suddenly had this big audience of people who were ready and willing and wanting to help, and I didn't want to disappoint them. And I just didn't know what to do next. I had lots of people giving me advice about what I should do with 52 Lives next, and people asking if they could franchise it, and somebody said I should open a shop. I don't know why I should open a shop. Somebody said I just had lots of people telling me what they thought I should do with it. And so for a few weeks I just didn't really do anything. I didn't completely switch off, but I stepped away a little bit.
I guess you've got all those notifications still to go through, haven't you?
Still going through everything. But I did. It really made me step back and think about what I wanted from 52 Lives and what the point of it all is, and where do I want to go next with it. And I decided not to do anything with it. I decided to keep it exactly as it was, because the whole point of 52 Lives is to try and help change someone's life every week and spread some kindness. And whether we had 100 people following the page and helping us, or 100,000 people, I just thought it doesn't really matter. I didn't want that to change the whole philosophy of what it's about.
Yeah, because I think what's really cool about 52 Lives is its simplicity, and that's really cool. What do you think it is about kindness?
I think that it's something very... I think it's just something very innate in humans. I think that there's all sorts of levels when you go into the science of kindness, but I think just at a very spiritual level, I think it just touches something quite deep in us. When you're kind to someone, when someone's kind to you, or even if you just see something, witness kindness, I guess. I think it really touches something quite deep in you. And I think that's what must have happened when I read that story initially about the lady with the rug. When I found out that she'd been through such a difficult time, I just kept thinking about her and thinking, I don't know, it just made me sad, and I wanted to do something to help her. And I think that side of it then leads on to all the other biochemical elements to kindness, I guess, which is it just releases amazing chemicals in your body which give you a natural high, and which is contagious as well. So it's good for who you're helping, it's good for yourself, it's good for everybody. It's good for the world.
And you've recently written the book as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about this awesome
My kindness book?
Yeah. Because it's not a small publisher, it's not self-published, It's one of the majors, isn't it?
It is. It's HarperCollins.
No, you can't get much bigger than that, can you?
HarperCollins. They've been incredibly supportive. The book, I wrote it last year. It was published in September, and it's just about 52 ways people can be kind. 52 little ideas about things people can do to be kind. But I've tried to make them a bit more substantial, and they're backed up with either bits of science supporting whatever the idea is, or little case studies, some of the voices of the people that we've helped through the charity, just explaining what it meant to them, what we did for them, that kind of thing. So I hope it's a bit of a mixture of quite practical things, like, pay for an extra bus ticket for somebody, and then there's some kind of deeper, more spiritual things. And do you know what? I try and read a chapter each night, or chapter, it's only brief chapters, to my children each night, and I think they see it as a punishment. They're like, we have to read your kindness book.
Do they know you're the author?
They do. I think as far as they read is the bit that says, I've got a dedication to them in the front. They like that bit because it's got their name in it, but the rest of it, they're like, oh, do we have to? Although my son recently showed me the bit, because there is one chapter in it about being present, and he accused me of not being present and threw my book at me, put my book in my face saying, you say you're supposed to put away your phone.
I like it. Well, it's a really good read. I read it when it turned up. I read it I think it was just one morning, just read it for a couple of hours. It's quite addictive. I was like, right, what's the next kind of tip? So yeah, it's really well-recommended book.
Thank you. I wanted it to be something that people could dip in and out of. Yeah, thank you.
I need to try and read it to my 3-year-old son as well. See how far I get.
Well, and it's not that long. Trying to read a chapter to my kids every night, it's a few pages. It'd take about a minute, but I think when it's something that your mum or dad does, it's a bit less interesting, isn't it?
Now, talking about kids and kindness, I was talking to someone recently about how kids really pick up what adults are doing or what their parents are doing, and I posted about this on Facebook on the We Make It Happen page recently. Last weekend I was in the playground with my son Albie, who's 3. We just finished playing. I persuaded him to move from the playground to another area with an ice cream, and we were walking out towards the gate of like the fence where the playground was, and he kind of zoomed ahead because he'd seen a family and a mum with a buggy trying to go through the gate, and he, on his like little green bike, he zoomed up and pulled it open and held it open for them. And I was like, I hadn't told him to go and do that. He'd just picked it up from somewhere of actually showing some kindness and doing something for someone else. And I had to kind of prize him away because he was there. And I think he loved people coming and going, oh, that's so kind, oh, thank you. So he kind of loved that he was helping, and he was going to sort of get recognition for it. So what do you think parents and adults can do to demonstrate that kindness is a way forward and something that we should be teaching kids?
I think that the biggest thing, the most important thing that parents and adults can do is praise kids for their kindness, just like you were talking about with your son. I think to make kindness something that's aspirational, or to make kindness a bit of a thing, you have to reward them. Either not reward, praise, definitely praise them for their kindness. I'd so much rather my children were praised for something kind they did than being clever or pretty or whatever, because I think that's the thing that so many people say to children. I'm definitely guilty of it. A little girl walks in and you go, oh, don't you look pretty? Or, oh, well done, you got 10 out of 10 on your spellings or something. I just don't think they're the important things in life. And I think that if you want children to understand what the more important things in life are, you need to praise them when they do it. So anytime my children show a modicum of kindness now, I make a big thing of it and say, that's so kind, that's so kind. I mean, my little boy recently, he's only in year 2, and he was worried about his SATs tests, which just left me baffled. Because I've told him so many times that it doesn't matter, but because they practice for them and the school makes a bigger thing about them, I guess, then what I'm telling them contradicts what the vibe is. If you're practicing for something, then it must be important. And I've read some beautiful things, beautiful little letters and things on social media that people write around exams and things that are similar to this. But I always just tell him that it's one number on a page that says at that moment in your life, that's how many questions you got right in whatever subject it is. It doesn't reflect what kind of person you are. It doesn't reflect how kind you are, how funny you are, anything else. It's nothing about you. But
that would be a better grading system, wouldn't it?
It would be.
But how would you grade that?
Exactly, be quite challenging.
But that would be probably more effective of a well-rounded person, isn't it? Not someone that can maybe remember answers in an hour-long test.
Exactly. And I would just, even, it goes for adults as well. I'd much rather my children grow into adults that are kind, compassionate people than somebody who's rich or famous or particularly beautiful or takes good selfies on Instagram.
So you do, through 52 Lives, quite a bit in schools. Do you want to talk about what you and your husband Greg do in schools then?
Yes, we, about 18 months ago, almost 2 years now actually, we launched our School Kindness Project. I won an award. I won the Clarence Woman of the Year award, and it came with prize money, which we used to launch the project. So every week we visit a different school somewhere in the country, and we run a kindness workshop. So the workshops, there's some kind of theory to the workshops. We do an element where we talk about all the benefits of kindness, the health benefits, the physical benefits, the social benefits, all of that. But then we also give the kids a practical task. So we tell them about a child somewhere in need of help, who's either maybe being bullied or has an illness or is going through a bit of a hard time, and they all work together on the day to try and do something to help that child. It's normally make cards, make video messages, write letters and that kind of thing.
That's lovely.
The idea behind it is, we just really wanted to empower kids, I guess. We wanted them to realise that little choices that they make every day can change people's lives, that you don't have to start a charity, you don't have to have millions of pounds, you don't have to do big grand things, you don't have to go viral on YouTube or social media, that just little interactions that you have with people, being kind to somebody, writing somebody a letter, that's what determines, it sounds big, that's what determines ultimately the kind of world that we have.
What sort of small acts of kindness can people do then? What some of your favourite ones that you might have done or come across?
Gosh, that's hard. I can't even think of it. I mean, I think it's things that are so simple. That's the thing. It's just saying hello to people, smiling at people. If somebody looks like they're having a bit of a hard time, asking them if they're all right, and genuinely asking if they're all right, not just a courtesy, how are you, good, fine. I think that giving people time is probably the most important thing you can do, and it's the thing that's most valuable and that we probably all have less of. But I think that sometimes busyness and an obsession with being busy can lead to people to be unkind. Maybe not on purpose, but I just think you get caught up in what you're doing. We get caught up in or in thinking our own heads and thinking about what I need to do next. And I think that can make you less compassionate and less open to look for opportunities to be kind. You know, I think something that, and it's something that really gets to me, I think it's my bugbear, it is about being present. I think that in particular is something that people can do to be more kind to themselves and to other people. It's not healthy to be staring at a screen all the time, and it's not healthy to be living in a virtual world all the time. I think that people just need to look up and talk to people, and when you are talking to somebody, just don't have your phone there, because it's the quickest way to say to somebody that you're not worth my full attention, because I'm just going to be checking my emails, having a look to see if there's anything happening on Instagram. Put your phone down. I do it, and it's something that I'm very aware of, and it's something that I don't like that's happening in our society, and I still do it because, you know, I work at home, emails pop up on my phone, and I find myself, you know, my children are talking to me and I'm answering them while looking at my phone, and I just think that's awful. One of my children said to me a couple of months ago, they wanted me to come and play a game with them, and I said, oh yeah, I said I'd play a game, I'll come in a minute. And then my other little girl said, but don't bring your phone with you. And it broke my heart, I thought, because even when I was doing things with them, I'd always be there kind of on the side looking, and I think that's something unkind that a lot of people do with PAP, but it's become quite acceptable, I think, and I think it's something that everybody does because it's quite addictive.
Yeah, I mean, say it being present, that's exactly what I was thinking, but it's quite a hard thing. I think you have to train yourself almost to be present and kind of be in the moment. I'll tell you a little kind of secret here. So I've just gone off camera. I was talking about this morning. So this is
bring back a cow.
It's a little cow, but my son Albie had put it in my jeans pocket a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't realise. And it was one of those moments where you're kind of like worrying about kind of quite trivial stuff and running about the house. And I was like, where's my keys? Got to do this. And I was like, what is this in my pocket? And I was like, it instantly made me present, and also made me go, actually, the things that I'm kind of worrying about aren't that important.
Yeah.
You know, the important things are my son Albie and kind of spending time with him. And that kind of brought me right down. So I normally keep this in my pocket all the time. I've just taken it out for the mic thing. But I think that's it's a good kind of grounder having. So you don't have to carry around like a small plastic cow in your pocket. But for me, that kind of brings me back to that kind of present moment and just kind of makes me realise what's important and put kind of value into people and time and things like that, not material things and stuff that hasn't happened yet or stuff that's in the past. So
yeah. I think we do. I think people spend a lot of time thinking about either something that they just did and going over a conversation in their head, or did I do that well, or what they're about to do rather than what they're doing right now. My husband's very good at being present, actually. We work together. He makes me go for a walk every day, and we go for a walk with our baby there's kind of like a meadow near our house, and tells me off if I check messages while I'm walking around. And when I'm really busy, and this one I know that I'm too caught up in my head, is when I feel a bit cross when he gets me to, he's like, just stop and look, because there's always really pretty bits. He's like, just stop and look. And I think, I don't have time to stop and look. I'm doing this walk. And that's when I know it's a massive warning sign to me that if him saying that annoys me, I'm too caught up in my head. Because I read somewhere once that the more busy you are and the more stressed you are, that's when you most need to take time out. And I think that's true. The days when I feel like I've got so much to do and I've got so much work to do and I don't have time to do anything, that's when I think I really do need to go for a walk or have a moment where you don't get caught up in things.
Going outdoors is always a good one, isn't it?
It really is. And I think that most things that we worry about are not worth worrying about. When you look at life in the bigger picture, I think, sometimes I get, especially because I don't know why I call it 52 lives, because it means I don't get any weeks no weeks off.
Yeah, no
I
holidays.
I should have called it 46 lives and I had a 6-week holiday every year. And sometimes I think, I should have put that post up by Monday. I haven't put the post up yet. And when I get caught up in things like that, and it becomes more of work rather than the essence of what it is, which is we're helping people. And Greg's very good at reminding me of that. The people we're helping this week, we're helping to make over 4 women's refuges, the playrooms for women's refuges, in Wales. And I had to get the Amazon wish list up last night, and I knew that if I post a story in the evening, there's more people generally looking at social media, so it means we'll get more support things. So I was on this deadline in my head trying to get it done, and then I thought, if it was tomorrow, would it really, if I did it tomorrow evening, it wouldn't really matter, because I'd given myself that mental deadline. I think sometimes you can lose perspective on, it doesn't really matter if it's a day later. No.
Well, I think sometimes we're our own worst enemy, isn't it? Actually, some of the things that we create, the deadlines and everything else, are usually sometimes self-created, especially when we're running our own businesses or our own projects.
Definitely, and there's with social media as well comes more comparison, and I often feel with 52 Lives like I should be doing more. I don't like going on social media that much because I just feel like it fills up my brain with stuff that it doesn't need to be filled up with. And I see people doing amazing things and sharing so much amazing stuff on social media. And on Facebook I'm not so bad, but things like Instagram I struggle to I don't know, Insta story myself or take photos of myself and the things that I'm doing. And so then I feel like, well, I should be doing more, and if I did more, then we might get more support and that kind of thing. But then it gets to the point where you think, well, where does it stop? How much of your life and what you're doing do you need to share?
Yeah, how many followers is it when you actually kind of think that's enough?
Yeah, and you know what? With 52 Lives, we were achieving what we wanted to achieve when we had 100 people following the Facebook page. It's amazing that we have a big audience now, and we can do much bigger things, and we can inspire more people. But the numbers aren't important. It's just, as long as we're fulfilling what we're trying to achieve, then that's all that matters, really.
What do you reckon has been some of the best stories or the best people that you've kind of looked after in that one particular week?
That's really hard. There's so many.
I mean, obviously all of them have been important.
Yeah.
But is there like one really good story that you've...
There was one that I was nervous about actually when I posted it. It was an asylum seeker. She'd been raped and she was pregnant. She was homeless. She was 35 weeks pregnant and she was homeless, which I've been told is not allowed to happen, because apparently when you get to a certain gestation, you have to be given accommodation. But she'd fallen through cracks in the system. She didn't have the right paperwork. There was all sorts of stuff going on. And I read about her actually in a newspaper article, and then I got in touch with a journalist and said, I want to try and help. I didn't know what we could do to help, but I wanted to try and do something. And she had just been given accommodation actually when we started to help her, but she didn't have anything for her baby at all, and she had no money. She didn't have anything. And I asked what she needed, and she said just a pram. And I knew that she needed a lot more than that. I don't think she actually, it was her first baby, and I don't think she realised how much she might need. And so I put together an Amazon wish list, and I filled it with everything I could think of that she might need, down to, I thought, she might be moving around a lot, so I got kind of a big suitcase that she might be able to put all the baby things in. And I was nervous about posting it because I thought, I think asylum can be quite controversial. I didn't want there to be any debate on the page. 52 Lives Facebook page, I think, is incredibly rare in that we just don't get negativity on it. We don't get people arguing with each other. It's just all positive loveliness, which I love. And I think I was worried that maybe it might get controversial. I didn't want it to start a debate about should we help asylum seekers or not. And I was worried maybe some people might not be sympathetic and might not want to help her because she's an asylum seeker. And I thought, again, at the end of the week, I might be having to buy every item on this wish list. Because I told her we were going to help, and I didn't want to disappoint her. I didn't want to have gotten her hopes up and then maybe not be able to get everything. And I shared the wish list, and I think within under an hour, every single thing, we had almost 100 things on the list, everything had been bought. And people were messaging me saying, can I buy a gift card, because all the gifts have been bought, all the presents have been bought already. It was incredible. And then she had her baby early, because we'd planned a courier, but then her baby came early, and so we had to kind of quickly change everything around, and we sent this van full of stuff off to meet her
at the hospital.
And some of it was at her friend's house near the hospital, and she took some of the things. And then I went to visit her in the hospital the next week, and it was just lovely, especially seeing, her baby was there wrapped in the blankets that we'd given, wearing the clothes that we'd given him, and that was really amazing. That really stayed with me.
Yeah, what does that do to you when you actually meet the people that are on the receiving end of these kind acts? It just really humanises everything. I mean, a lot of my interactions are by email or over the phone. I get quite embarrassed sometimes, I think, when I meet the people we help, because I get thanked a lot. Even some of the thank you letters and things that we get, when I share them on social media, sometimes I cut off the top bit because it says Dear Jamie, and I think it's not. I know they're just addressing that to me because I'm the chief exec, but I don't like it saying Jamie, because I think, the items on that lady's wish list, I didn't buy them. It was all of our supporters, a lot of them anonymously, who don't get thanked. So I think sometimes I feel like a bit of a fraud when, I don't know, I rock up and they're like, oh, Jamie, thank you so much. And I'm like, oh, yes, I built this sensory garden myself. I didn't do the things. I coordinate it, but I don't physically do the work myself, and I don't buy the things myself.
So it's a mixture. I love meeting the people, but I also feel a bit awkward sometimes.
You should take the thanks. Take the thanks, because it was your kind of idea, wasn't it? So, and I think those people may not be getting those gifts if it wasn't for you getting in touch with that woman who wanted the rugs, and it may not have happened. So yeah, take it.
No, I'll say thanks. You're welcome.
What does success mean to you?
I think it's changed a lot over the years, actually, what it's meant to me. I used to think of success in a work, in more of a work, achieving a certain level in my job or earning a certain amount of money, I guess. Now it's very much being at peace, I think. It's, I was going to say happiness, but I don't think it's even about happiness. I think it is much more just being at peace with wherever you are at that time. And that might be, you might be feeling sad, you might be feeling happy, you might be feeling anxious, you might be feeling stressed. I think it's about self-acceptance and being okay with wherever you are now, because emotions especially, they just come and go. How you're feeling in your life comes and goes. You might be sad, but I think if we give too much weight to them, or if we obsess about, I need to be happy, how can I be happy, or I don't want to be sad, how do I know, I'm going to go read a book about how not to be sad. I think that you just get too caught up in and too obsessed with how you're feeling at the time. So I think just being in a state where you can accept yourself and be at peace with however you are is, for me, is success.
So how do people find that peace then? What's the secret?
I think it's going to get quite deep and philosophical now probably, but I think it's just being aware of where all of your emotions are coming from, and being aware that it's just all of our thinking, and just not to worry so much about everything. I say it to Greg so often, just stop thinking so much about things, because I think a lot of people overthink things. I think that people read too many self-help books, and most of them contradict each other anyway, and there's just so much focus on finding happiness, and it just makes it all feel too hard. I think it's just, we need to strip it all back to just being really simple. Spend time with people that you love. Don't worry about what you should be doing. Should I be earning more? Should I get a better job? Maybe we could get a different house. Maybe I want a different lamp. I don't know. I think people are very externally focused a lot of the time. So I think, just trying to quieten our minds down a little bit, be a bit more reflective, help people, be kind to people, be kind to yourself. I think that's the key. And being kind to yourself, because I think also being kind to yourself puts you in a better state of mind to then be kind to other people as well. When people are unkind, I think it's rarely about whoever the person they're dealing with is. It's about whatever's going on with them. That's something that I really do try and teach my children quite a lot, actually. It's one of the things in my book, be kind to unkind people, because they need it the most.
How do you go about that then, being kind to unkind people? I
think sometimes, most of the time, it's about not reacting. If somebody can be quite gruff with you or quite rude to you, you don't know what's going on with people, and most of the time it is about them and the state of mind they're in. But responding with kindness is just always going to help a situation. It's not going to make it worse. I don't think kindness can ever make something worse. That's the key. Because if somebody is rude to you, sometimes the natural reaction is to react in an angry way back. It's never going to help. It's only ever going to make it worse, and you'll go away feeling worse. Everybody will go away feeling worse. I've been rude to people and gone back and apologised later. I remember I took my kids to the cinema once. Oh God, the poor lady. I was late, and my kids were getting upset because we were late, because they don't like being late to the cinema. And I just thought the lady was really who was serving the popcorn and things, was really not being very efficient. And then she was chatting to somebody, and then she came back and the till didn't work, so she went to the other till, and I was just quite rude to her. And
You didn't kick over the counter.
I didn't kick over the counter.
Popcorn was everywhere.
I probably did it in a very English way. I spoke very gruffly and toughened a lot.
You wrote her a letter afterwards.
I wrote her really stern. But I know I was really short with her, and after the film, I just felt awful. And we watched the film, and when we came out afterwards, I went up and said, "I'm really sorry. I was rude to you before. It wasn't you. I was just stressed. I'm sorry." And she said, "Thank you so much for apologising, because so many people are rude to us, and and how would that make them feel all the time? Having people be rude to you all day wouldn't be very nice."
Did you say whether anyone had actually come up and apologised before?
No, she didn't. She didn't say if they had or not. But I imagine it's
a rarity, I guess.
I imagine it's rare, probably because I think I had the benefit of sitting in a 2-hour film and calming down and
crying your eyes out, just going, "I've been horrible to this woman."
Mean. I did it as well. I did it in Barclays Bank once. I was quite rude to the man. I was trying to put like £100 worth of change into their little change machine that you can deposit, and he said, "You can't put that much in. You have to go to the teller." And I said, "I'm not going to the teller. There's too big a queue." And I was quite rude to him. And then I apologised to him as well, because I had to stand there for a while, because I did in fact break the machine, which he said I would.
So you're not kind 100% of the time?
I'm not kind 100% of the time, but I do catch myself when I'm being unkind. And I think, when you do apologise to somebody, or when you catch yourself being unkind, apologising to someone, it does so much. And it creates quite a connection with you and the person, because I think it just humanises it a bit more, and you're seeing the other person as a human being, rather than just somebody who's being a bit slow serving your popcorn.
Yeah, because I think even if we've created a situation out of anger or whatever it is, or impatience, or you're late or whatever, and taking it out on someone, I suppose you can always just turn that situation around and do like you do and apologise, and that's great.
And even if they're, it might not change that person instantly if it was somebody who's being horrible or rude or anything, but it's not going to hurt, and it might cause them to be kinder next time, or at least less angry. I had an email once, actually. It was around the time that I helped the lady with the baby things, the asylum seeker, and I had an email from somebody who called me the C word. I think it's the only angry email I've ever gotten related to 52 Lives, because I'd been retweeting some stuff about refugees, and he said that he thought I was a Brit helping Brits, and he was proud to follow me because I was a Brit helping Brits, and that he was really disappointed that I was now helping foreigners. And
you're Australian.
And he didn't know I was Australian.
You should have just replied back. He hate you even more.
It was a really awful email, and he called me the C word, and I didn't really know what to do. I hate hostility, and I read it and I felt quite upset, and I really disliked everything that he'd written in it, but I was also just, I don't know, it's horrible getting that kind of email. And I started off firing an email back. I was like, right, reply, and then I waited a little while and thought, no, I'm not even going to bother replying. And then, because I'd waited, I think I was calm, and I then wrote him quite a long reply, but I wrote it politely, and I explained to him why I was retweeting the things that I was retweeting. Towards the end, I sent him some links, I think, to things that I thought might be helpful for him to read. It was probably a bit patronising.
Stress management or something, was it?
No, it was things about myths about asylum and things like that. And I, in the end, I said, "You seem like you're quite an angry man, and I hope you're all right." And
was this all in capital letters that you wrote this?
I was very calm. And I also said, "I know you haven't apologised, but I forgive you for calling me the C word. Love, Jamie." And he wrote back and apologised, and he said that he thought, he said, what did he call me? It was something, top bird, I think he told me I was. And he said, sorry. I don't know that I changed his mind, but I thought if I just responded straight away and gotten angry and argued with him, you see it on Twitter all the time, people just being angry with each other, and nobody's really listening to each other. I don't know what was going on with him. I don't know what experiences he's had in his life. Clearly he wasn't a happy person to be. I think if you email anybody that you don't know and call them all sorts of things, you're probably not in a very happy place yourself.
Well, that's great that you responded, because I think whenever you get into the limelight a bit, there's always going to be people like the haters that will just come out and say certain things, and I just screen grab them at the moment, because occasionally it kind of, and it's quite amusing. And initially you have that same kind of thing. It's like, I want to change their thinking, like to either like good deeds or kindness, and go, why are you kind of, I'm not trying to do this for this reason or this reason. It's coming from an authentic, genuine place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't give them any time, like the few that kind of crop up, because I just think, one, you'll probably get into a debate, which no one will probably win, and you're just wasting your kind of valuable time, as we were talking about. Time is our currency, so why spend it on kind of trying to convert the haters, who may just be looking for a rise and bored and just want a bit of a tittle-tattle sort of thing with someone, so...
Well, and I think maybe it's also people who just have quite a pessimistic view of the world, or cynical. I mean, somebody wrote to me on Twitter actually and said that I was profiting from, because it was about my book, and they said, you're profiting from kindness. And I was thinking, well, I guess I am, because I wrote a book about kindness.
And your house is now full of all these Amazon gifts destined for other people that never turned up. Don't know how that happened.
But I thought, would they say that to another author, that an author's profiting from, I don't know, a romance novelist, are they profiting from love and sex? I mean, what, like I do get money when my book sells, but what a lovely thing to make money out of if you're going to write a book about something. I find that a weird criticism, but
because this is your career now, this is your job, and so everyone goes to a job to earn money, so it's just a bonus to you that is connected with your passion and kindness.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that I like about 52 Lives, one of the things I love about 52 Lives, and I think what a lot of our supporters like about 52 Lives, is that 100% of what people give goes to the people that we help. All of our costs are covered by corporate sponsors. We've got a main corporate sponsor, Gala Bingo, who cover all of our running costs, and that means that I think it's just a really transparent way. So I'm quite lucky I don't have to respond to criticism in that way, because people know that if they're giving to 52 Lives, it's not going to me buying a pair of shoes or something. It's going to the people we help. But you know what, I did an interview for the Daily Mail, and this article was published last week, and I always find it amusing because it was on the Mail Online, and it was all about kindness, and they'd interviewed a few different people, different authors who'd written about kindness and various experts and things, and I think they called it kindfulness or something instead of mindfulness, I don't know. And
clever.
And it was, because I'm used to it now, for pure amusement, I was like, let's read the comments section from the Daily Mail Online article about kindness and see what, and it's so much anger. It's just like, the article's about kindness. And there were comments like, well, yeah, I was kind, I try and be kind, but you just get kicked in the teeth, no point being kind, and it's just about where people are in their own heads and their own life. It's not,
Yeah, because I read that Daily Mail article. Yeah, so I've completely forgot that obviously there's the comments below. And I don't think there's hardly any nice comments.
It's rare. I think it's rare in a Daily Mail Online article to have comments going, that's a wonderful idea. That's great. I mean, Greg, when my husband did his trip around the world, it was, he had cancer twice. He set off on a journey around the world to make himself feel better. He was struggling with PTSD, and he set up a blog which then got followed, and he got in the national papers, and there was an article in one of the national papers about, and it was also in the Mail, just him, being a cancer survivor and trying to show people that there's life after cancer. And the comments on that article, he had people kind of going, well, I bet he used to work in the police, and there were people saying, oh, I bet taxpayers are funding that. And it's like, no, of course they're not funding it. But I think it's just, I don't know, it's just a shame, I think, that there can be negativity about things. But I think just either laughing it off or not focusing on it is the way to deal with it.
I think, I just try and ignore all of those comments. But I screen grab some of them, because I think one day I'll do a little talk about the haters.
Yeah.
Because it is quite amusing, some of them. So that quite often you'll get, oh, why are you bigging yourself up and talking about all the good things that you're doing? I don't talk about the good things that I do, and I donate to so and so charity. Hang on, you've just put in a public place the fact that you donate to charity, and then telling me off for doing good. So it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
There is one guy that really let rip when I had the amazing BBC Three Amazing Humans did a little thing about Tenor for Good and We Make Good, which was great, and it had 3 million views. And of course, the vast majority, about 95% of the comments are, oh, this is really good, I want to do the same. And then there's one guy who just like about 5 different messages was just like, oh, he's doing it to promote his like film company, and he'd started like digging up, like posting to my film company, the web address and all this kind of stuff. It's like, I've never mentioned the film company once and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, why is he so caught up in the fact that, he thinks that I'm doing this for publicity's sake and all this kind of stuff. And he'd obviously spent quite a lot of time doing all this kind of stuff. I haven't done it yet, but essentially what I want to do is, when I get time, is actually go and do a couple of good deeds with him, go up and meet him in person, and see if he's up for doing some kind of kind acts together, because I think that'd be a nice kind of turnaround, because I think he's, like you were kind of sort of saying, they're coming from like a different kind of, maybe a darker, angrier place, so they're just kind of letting rip on anyone who's, a bit more kind of positive and smiley and doing nice things and feeling the kind of repercussions of doing kind acts. So maybe I'll do that one day.
Especially because with what you're doing, publicising doing good things, I mean, there are so many people publicising so many things that are nowhere near as good for the world or meaningful, that don't get criticised. But I think sometimes when you're someone like yourself who's doing more charitable things, I don't know, people might think, well, he shouldn't be self-promoting as well then. But why not promote that you're doing amazing work?
Yeah, because I think you've kind of got to get over that thing of being, okay, you might be the face of a certain brand, and I'm still getting used to that, being a cameraman. I'd much prefer being behind the camera rather than in front of it. But I think if you don't really talk about it, how are other people going to find out about it? And even like the last couple of days, I've had really nice messages going from completely random people, strangers, didn't know them, just saying, you've really inspired me, I'm going to go off and do some good things for people this weekend, or I found a tenor and I went and did this with it. And you think that wouldn't have happened, so those kind of ripple effects have sort of taken place only because I've talked about it and made it public, not done stuff and not told people about it.
Well, yeah, because if it was just, Tenor for Good, We Make Good Happen anything without a face behind it, I don't think it would be what it is. 52 Lives was going for a long time before Surprise, Surprise. And, it was amazing that we got this big audience, but also people saw a person rather than just a logo or a faceless charity. And I think that's, after Surprise, Surprise, I did for a few weeks, I felt quite conscious that it felt like it was a lot about me, and I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about 52 Lives. And I changed the way I was writing our Facebook posts and things. I kept on writing 52 Lives this and 52 Lives that, and we this and we that. And I used to just write, I spoke to this person, and I used to write it from myself. And we had a pro bono social media expert give us some advice once, and she said, why did you change how you were writing it? And I said,
from I to we.
From I to we, and I kind of started writing it from an organisation point of view rather than me. And she said, because see, people even in the comments and things people make on Facebook, they know it's me that runs it, so they still write, oh Jamie, I've got this, or do it. So it was silly. It was like I was pretending that it wasn't me anymore, but it was me. So I just thought, why am I don't know. It just felt, I didn't like writing I, but I've gotten over that now because I realised it's people like dealing with a person and not a faceless organisation. So
have you reverted back to using I then?
I think I probably do a bit of both now.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about what we did, I say what we did because I think that's we, the collective, 52 Live supporters and everything. But if I'm talking about how I chose who to help and that kind of thing, then I tend to write I. Because also I think that makes it more trustworthy, I guess, because the people that I choose to help are vetted quite heavily, actually. We do a lot of checks to make sure that the stories of the people that we're helping are genuine, because we've got a lot of people now who put a lot of trust in who we choose to help. So I always want to make sure that they can have that trust. And I think when I say in a story, I spoke to their social worker or I did this, then it's a bit more, I don't know, I think it instills a bit more trust than just a logo.
Do you want to explain how Amazon wish lists kind of work within 52 Lives who may not have come across that concept before?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can use this week as an example. This week we're helping the 4 women's refuges in Wales, and they needed toys, books, all sorts of stuff for their playrooms. So I go onto Amazon and I can set up a wish list, and I fill this list with everything that I can think of that they might need, or they can send me links sometimes to what they need. And our supporters then, I share that Amazon wish list with our supporters. I just give them the link and say, click on here to go to the wish list. They buy something from the list and it gets sent directly to the Women's Refuge, and everybody's details are kept private. So that's the beauty of it, I think. If you tick a certain box, then the recipient's details are not shared, and the person who gives the present's details aren't shared. So it's just a really easy way to use technology to get the things that people need. And it's always, I mean, what we ask for each week varies a lot. Sometimes we ask for donations, and then we buy the things that the people need. Sometimes we ask for services, like we might need a carpenter to do something. Wish lists are always the most successful weeks we have, because people like buying a thing, I think, rather than giving £20. They might be like, oh no, I just bought 5 books for that refuge, or I've bought, some nappies for that baby. It's much more personal. And I think that's why we got so many supporters as well initially. It's a really personal way of giving. You can read a story about somebody, choose whether or not you want to help that week. And then we obviously give updates. So we share photos or videos or messages from the people saying thank you. And it's just a really transparent and personal way to give to somebody. And I think, a lot of people have told me that it's they get a much warmer feeling, I guess, helping in that way than just giving £5 to something generic.
When you say supporters, anyone can get involved, can't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool about when you do the Amazon wish list, that anyone can get involved and not make their name known if they want to sort of give that way. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of I make sure we do it every week now. It used to be not every week, but now it is. I always put something on the list I always put something in our requests that doesn't cost anything, because some of our supporters can't afford to give money every week or to buy something. So on the list of people's needs, so I'll share a story and say, this is what we need this week. This week, for example, we said gifts from the wish list. We need some tins of paint to paint the playroom walls. And we always put now a third one, which is messages. So if somebody wants to send a card or a message or an email, we then put those all together and pass them on to the person we're helping that week. So even if somebody doesn't have anything financial they can give, then they can always just send an email or write a little message. And we get a lot of people doing that now.
What's the power of message then?
I just think that's, every person that we've helped with 52 Lives, I think almost without fail has said to me that it wasn't the thing that we gave them that really helped. It was the fact that people cared about them. And when you're going through a really difficult time, just knowing that there's people who care about you can just make such a big difference, so much difference. We've helped a few children actually who have been bullied, and the response we had from those was just incredible. There was one little boy we helped called Toby, and he'd been beaten up, and the guys who did it filmed him and put it on social media to try and humiliate him, I guess. And his dad kind of took that and decided to turn it around. He shared it to say what a horrible thing this was. And it got shared quite widely, and people were quite furious that this happened to this little boy. And so we asked our supporters to send in messages and things for him. And I also asked his dad if there was anything he wanted. We wanted to give him some little treats or something to cheer him up. And so I set up an Amazon wish list for him. And even when he only put a few things on it, when that had all gone, people were buying gift cards and things. I think we ended up giving him almost £2,000 in gift cards. But just so many messages. And he said they just made such a difference to him, and they made him feel incredible. And Because I think when you're getting bullied or when you've got people around you who are just not nice, you can, especially when you're younger, I think you can feel like that's the whole world. If it's such a big deal to you, because it is, it's most of your day, isn't it? If you're at school or, and I think what we do and what having other people from outside, good people from outside that little circle you're in, send you lovely messages. It opens up your world and just helps you realize that there are good people in the world and that life is not all these few little people around you. There's so many people are good, and I think people want to help each other. Sometimes they're just not sure how, or sometimes they get a bit caught up in their own life and maybe get a bit unkind. But generally, people are good.
What do you understand by the ripple of kindness, or this domino effect of people doing good for other people?
I think kindness is contagious. It's actually, I've read that if, I'm going to get the science of this completely wrong now. It is written in my book somewhere. I sourced Dr. David Hamilton for it.
Who's David Hamilton?
David Hamilton is he's an author. He wrote the foreword for my book actually. He used to work in the pharma industry, and now he just got really fascinated and did lots of research into the placebo effect and the power of your mind, and he's written lots of books now, like How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body and the 5 Side Effects of Kindness, and the science of kindness fascinates me. He'd be able to explain it a lot better than I can, because I'm probably going to get it all wrong now, the science side of it.
Go on, just lie for this part.
If you say it with confidence, I believe you. I mean, there was some kind of study done that shows that when you're kind to somebody, it can actually reach up to, I think it's 16 people, because it has a ripple effect. If you're kind to a few people, they will go out and be kind to 3 people who will go out and be kind, and so on and so forth. But the chemical effect that it has on our body, when we witness somebody being kind, when we are kind, or when we receive kindness, it releases all the feel-good chemicals in your head, dopamine, oxytocin, everything, and that then makes you more likely to then go out and be kind. When you're feeling good, you're so much more likely to be good to people. So it has a ripple effect, and that's what we hope with 52 Lives. We help 52 people every year. Well, actually, it's more than that now because of our school workshops and our Christmas project. We help 1,000 people, but at the core of it, we're set up to help 52 people every year. But what we do is just so much more than that. Everybody that reads the stories of kindness, the people who offer help, it just reaches so many more people than I originally set it up to help.
Yeah, because you created this massive ripple effect.
And even some of the people, there's so many little stories where people we've helped have gone on to do things. I mean, often, because I see who makes donations and things, it's so often people that we've helped before who I know don't have very much, who give to the person the next week because they want to give something back. There was a lady we helped who, called Laura, her little boy Harry has Batten disease, which is a really awful degenerative illness. And she said she was inspired by 52 Lives, and she's now set up something called Sponsor a Sibling. So every week she chooses a sibling of somebody who's ill, of an ill child, because she said that she knows that with her children, the sibling of the ill child has to make a lot of sacrifices. And so she puts together little gift packs and things, and people buy them on Amazon wish lists. And
that's lovely.
And there's just so many little stories like that of people that we've helped who then go on to do so many amazing things. And it doesn't even have to be an amazing thing. It doesn't even have to be setting up a charity. If somebody that we've helped then goes on and is nice to somebody, gives £1 to something, it just, I don't know. Or even if they, not even giving, just feeling like there's good people in the world again. There's one lady we helped who I can't name her, but she said...
Janet, is this Janet you're talking about?
Janet. We gave her some things, but she sent me a message a few weeks after we helped her and said that she had been on the verge of committing suicide before we helped her, which I didn't know at the time. But she just said all the messages and things I got just really gave me a boost. I mean, that's the power of a message.
That's an incredible legacy that you've created. What do you think back now when you started just helping that first lady with the rugs to where you are now?
It's just incredible. I never, especially because I didn't intend for it to happen, I guess. I thought it was going to be just a little thing I did around looking after my kids, and I thought it was going to be a little page where my friends and family could do nice things for people. I think perhaps now, I think if I had have set out with the aim of I'm going to launch a big charity and then I'm going to write a book, I don't think it would have worked, because I think that I would have been so focused on this is how it's going to succeed. I think because I've never had any goals for it, I guess. I never had a big objective of by this time I'm going to have this many followers or anything like that. I think it's just grown organically, and when I've had to make decisions about things, I just kind of do whatever feels right at the time, and it works. I'm a big believer in not thinking too much and trusting your gut instincts, and things work out. Or don't, but that's all right as well.
I like it. Okay, so final question then. Imagine all your friends and family are at this nice beach, lovely blue sky day, and you've hired one of those small planes that flies through the sky with a message behind it, a banner. And this is your kind of final message, your words of wisdom to all your friends and family. What would those words be?
God, that's pressure.
No pressure
Few words.
whatsoever. And it's only £5 per letter, or I'll give you a kind of discount if there's a few more. No, you could have as long as you want.
Oh, do you know what? I was trying to think of something unique. I can't. It would just be love each other. That's it.
That's unique.
That's what it's all about. Love. Loving each other and being kind. That's what I think. That's what life's about.
The banner's getting longer and longer now,
Okay.
as you said.
Love each other. Full stop. Exclamation mark. There we go.
I like it. Love each other, full exclamation mark.
Well, do you know what? I received a letter from a lady in the first few weeks of 52 Lives, and I always kept it. And because she summed up really just beautifully what 52 Lives is all about. She'd sent in a gift card for somebody, but in the letter she said, we're all in this world together and need to support each other. Let them know they're not alone. And that just to me summed up everything of what the whole charity's about.
That's awesome, isn't it? Where can people get involved with 52 Lives then?
Our website is 52-lives.org, but you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. I'm not on any of the others because I don't know how they work.
Not on Snapchat or anything.
I don't even know what the others are, but they're the ones I'm on.
So 52lives.org.
50 what's my website? 52-lives.org.
Is it on the back of the... I'm pretty sure it's 52lives.org, isn't it?
It's got a hyphen in it because I couldn't get it without the hyphen, annoyingly.
Oh, really?
52-lives.org. If you Google 52 Lives, it comes up.
So 52-lives.org.
But just Google 52 Lives and it'll come up.
Been absolutely amazing to chat to you, Jaime Thurston. Go out and buy this amazing book on kindness. Bring some more kindness into the world. Get involved with 52 Lives. Thank you very much for coming. Amazing human.
Thank
Jaime.
you for having me.
Hooray!